Esther chapter 2. The whole story of Esther is about God using Mordecai and his adopted daughter Esther to save the Jews from persecution and destruction at the hands of Haman. And yet, one thing you notice about Mordecai and Esther is that they were not spiritually strong people. Mordecai, his name is a form of Marduk, which was the great god of Babylon. Esther, this is a form of Ishtar, it means star. It's another of the great gods, and even a Hebrew name, Hadassah, it means myrtle tree, which is not a native tree of Israel, but of Babylon. So, you can see that these people were totally assimilated into Persian society, and to such an extent that when Esther marries the king seems to have no clue that she is a Jewess. And then she suddenly turns around when Haman says, well, we're going to exterminate every Jewish person in the empire. She has to go to the king and say, well, I am a Jewess myself, actually. Please, can you somehow stop this? So my point is that God worked through spiritually weak people to achieve a huge salvation of probably millions of Jewish lives. And who did he choose? Not someone who was pious and white-faced, like the prophet Daniel, for example, but no, someone who was worldly and weak. And you see there how God transforms people and puts them in positions where they have to do something for him. And she chose rightly. She contrasts with Daniel. Really, Daniel wouldn't eat the king's meat because it was associated with idolatry. He prayed openly to his God. You never read in the book of Esther of her praying at all. And she suddenly doesn't talk about her God at all. So my point is, we all tend to think, well, who am I to be used by God? I'm not only not very capable and competent, I'm also spiritually weak. Yes, okay, maybe you are. I'm sure you are. We all are. But don't think that your spiritual weakness is a barrier. People say, I can't preach the gospel, I don't know the Bible very well. Yes, you can. God will use you. The key thing then is to just be totally open to God, confess how you feel about your weaknesses, tell him about Esther and say, and yeah, use me.